everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Oriire podcast, the podcast that tells African stories. I'm Halima.
And I'm Ceci. And today we are here with two very interesting guests to talk about a very interesting topic, Ajo, aka a system of
rotating, aka rotating credit and savings associations. I wrote a paper on this, you guys. So yeah, I'm very proud of myself.
I was just about to tell you guys that Halima has been telling us about her paper since. Anyway,
I got an A on that paper, so of course I'm very proud of myself.
Anyway, we are here with two very special and also not special at all guests who are part of the Oriire team. We're here with Kola and Steve. Hi, Kola and Steve. Welcome.
Hi,
hello,
Ceci.
good evening.
Good to be here.
I'm glad to be here again.
Yeah.
Steven is really glad to be here. You guys should see the way he's smiling. I'm like, why is he so excited? But yeah, I understand. Anyway, so first question, has anyone ever participated in Ajo or
that's the first question, not asking what is Ajo first of all.
No, my first question is
Okay.
Okay, wait, let's answer what is Ajo. That's a very good first question, actually. We shouldn't just assume that people know what Ajo is, and then I'll ask that one as my second question. So what is Ajo? Who wants to answer that?
Okay, let me do the honors. So Ajo is a system of let's say it's a saving system from my own research, where a group of people contribute money, or they save a certain amount of money with one person, and at the end of every month or designated period, each member of the group that is making the collections or the contributions or the savings will then, one person will get the total sum. The term Ajo as a business actually became popular after 1954, when late Alpheus Taiwo, popularly known as Elijah Shomolu, started the business in Lagos. So yeah, there's a whole story that I read up about him, but it's going to be very long. So just as time goes on, maybe I'll share my well-researched paper.
Okay. So actually, when we as a team were, when we were discussing this episode, we kind of realized that there are probably disputing ideas of what Ajo is. So when Steve gave his own definition just now, he said, a group of people saving with one person. However, the method of Ajo that I know, or that I have heard of and seen of, which I'm sure some of you listeners know too, is the one where a group of people come together as kind of a cooperative, and then they choose to save with each other. So in one of the Ajo methods, or I don't know if you can call it Ajo methods, but in one of the Ajo methods, there's an Alajo who goes around, collects the savings and is the keeper of the savings, right, guys? And then in another one, each person is the keeper of the savings in a kind of rotating manner. So each person in the group, in the cooperative, keeps the savings at one point in time, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. So as the major experts on rotating credit and savings associations, basically are just typically comprised of members who make these periodic payments to one. So let's say, for example, Ceci, myself, Kola, and Steven are doing this Ajo sort of thing, and then Ceci is the one collecting the money, right? She's the one that we make money and periodic payments to. So let's say we are going to give Ceci 10,000 naira every month, and then each of us are going to pay Ceci 10,000 naira every month. Then at the end of that month, Ceci is going to give the total sum to each of us, if that makes sense. So that's basically the type of Ajo I know and I understand. Does anyone have any other type of Ajo to add?
Yes, we could say that's a type of Ajo, like a system. But just like what Steve said earlier, I think the most important thing that makes Ajo, like the traditional Ajo, is the fact that there is an Alajo, like the one in charge, and there is the people like paying, money, people paying to the Alajo. So now, when you say the type you just mentioned, now it seems more like a savings and also a loan, in the sense that it's a circle and you're taking like a huge sum of money, which is not like your investment, if I may use the word investment, like not your savings actually. You're taking like, I'm glad you used the word rotation, because you're taking like the old money from a group of people as you take it for your turn. Then the next, it could be the next month, the second person or whoever comes next takes the old money. Then everybody keeps taking till the old circle ends. But I feel like the traditional ajo is where you have like the alajo, the collector. Um, Naturally, the alajo goes round. In Lagos, people kind of know them. They have this bike and this bag where they put their records and keep their monies. So if there are 5 people paying money to the alajo, if I'm paying 500 naira, for instance, at the end of the month, I'm going to get a total of all the 500 nairas I have paid for the whole month. The next person, who in most cases, the other 4 people do not know. Like if there are 5 people in total, you don't need to know who else is, under who is using the services of the alaja, if I may put it that way. So that one, the alaja just keeps your money for you, saves your money for you until when you need it, or until when it's time to give you back. So it's not like you are going to take in all the money from the other 4 persons that are, also saving their money. So I feel like the traditional ajo is just savings, then you get your returns, rather than I think this one you mentioned is like the newly advanced style where, it's like saving, then a loan, that kind of thing. So these are the 2 types I know. I don't know if there are other types of, ajo
I
system.
agree. I think the first method is more of a savings and the second method is more of a loan. And I can see the vulnerabilities in each method. So the first method, which requires an alajo, who is kind of the keeper of the money and the distributor of the money, and the second method, which requires cooperation of a group of people. First method, you have to have an alajo who is beyond reproach then, but you must really trust this person not to do any nonsense with your money. And then the second person, you have to trust a group of people not to do anything with your money at the same time. Because if, let's say, as Halima said, our method is we each contribute 10K and there's 5 of us in the group. And in January, one person collects the 50K. In February, another person collects the 50K. What if the person in January disappears with the 50K and does not contribute for the rest of the month? Then the
But
rest
yeah,
of you.
that's the thing with ajo, right? You cannot just start, you cannot go into like an ajo agreement with somebody you don't know. So typically, like, trust is involved, right? So for example, the ajo that I did once, it's only one ajo I've ever done in my lifetime. It was with my cousins, right? And so of course I know that they're not going to run away with my money, and I know that I'm not going to run away with their money. So typically there's a level of trust that has to be established before an agile group can like comfortably form.
I mean, trust has to be involved either way. I think it's fascinating considering that Nigeria is such a low trust society that people would trust each other to be honest this way. However,
But
even
we're
if
also a communal society, like in addition to being like low trust, we're also like
that's
very
true. But even
communal.
if you say that, you trust people, you can't really trust people enough. I've heard stories, guys, of people jackpying with people's ajo or like just disappearing, never to be heard from again. I'm sure it happens. There's no way that something like that is, beyond corruption, let's say,
that
because
that, that, that happens a lot, but then that's where ajo is kind of not the best idea. Now we are saying, you trust or you don't trust, but what if something happens? Maybe, for example, this person, God forbid, maybe dies, and the person already collected from his or her own turn. So what happens then? Is it like, okay, we would accept that, oh, all right, we have paid and this one is gone? Will the whole system crash? Will it continue? So these are all the negative parts of it, I guess. But we'll get to that, yeah.
Yeah, but then I imagine that typically whoever is like in charge of an agile sort of thing, they have somebody maybe within the group or somebody that they're close to or like a next of kin that is aware that they're collecting this money. So there's also like, I mean, with everything, like with every type of financial system, there are risks involved, right? So this is just one of the risks of Ajo, and I'm sure that there are ways to curb that risk. So say, for example, my mom is the one in charge of collecting a particular Ajo for her and her group of friends. She would have probably told me that, okay, God forbid something happens, right? I owe, or so person has this amount of money with me. Because it's a thing about communication, right? And then maybe I will continue it, or I'll just give everybody back their money or something.
So basically, you're saying the guarantor system is one way to kind of make sure that.
We're actually fine-tuning this a lot, because to be honest, Ajo doesn't. It's not that deep.
Ajo has to be.
Most times,
Ajo has to be.
people don't even know it's your next. I'm telling you. Just go
I
and
just
save.
like to think that, because I mean, this is money we're talking about. It's a very like delicate thing, right? So
Well, I think you have.
I imagine they would have thought about
faith.
it.
I think you have way too much faith and way too much optimism when it comes to people, because I don't think that many people will even
I
think
really don't, because I like to think that it's just like I mean, I don't trust banking systems as well, but then that's just me, because it can crash tomorrow and wow, poor. But then I know that there has to be like systems in place to keep things in check. So I imagine that with Ajo and also rotating credit and savings association, they're like, what's it called? There are things in place to like hold people accountable. But maybe that's me just being optimistic.
I think they're being optimistic, because when I think about what people do with money, like somebody will come and say, you look, donate 5 million naira in 3 months, I'll give you 50 times returns. People will say yes. They will ask people and put their money inside it. Then 2 months later, you heard that the man ran away to Dubai. That happens.
Yeah, but that's greed now. That one is greed. That's greed.
Anyway,
exactly.
But people still do it. People still do it. And
who does that?
They will come out okay.
Interesting.
So I don't put anything beyond people. I don't say that, no. They probably didn't even think about it twice.
But yeah, anyway.
For me,
go ahead.
For me, I think that the Ajo system is something very traditional and it's very local. And the tradition has continued over the years. And as such, people did not really think of fine-tuning, or they didn't think of evolving the loopholes. Because anytime we talk about things like this, I like to do a back check on the history of how it began, especially in Nigeria. Now, when Baba, the Alajo Shomolu man, started this business, he started it in 1954, like I said earlier. And it was a time where there was no banking system. There was no serious banking system, micro banking system. As a matter of fact, the Ajo system was the precursor to micro banking system in Nigeria. And it was focused on market women. So he would go to market women and fun fact, he learned the Ajo business from Cameroon. So we focused on market women. He would go to them one after the other and collect money on a daily basis. It was a form of business. And at the end of the month, it was not even a monthly contract. At the end of the month, he would give it to each person in lump sums. And he always gives each person's money minus 1 day's contribution. That was how he made his own money. So if you have contributed for 30 days in a month, he gives everybody 29 days worth of money and keeps the 1 day on each person's money. And over the years, it was recorded by his children and great-grandchildren during an interview that this man was very smart, that at a point where calculators did not exist, this man knew the records of everybody and the amount each person was contributing with him and when it was due. And he was giving it to them accurately at every point in time without any records. In fact, for about 30 years of his trade, he didn't have a book or a record where he was noting people's names, and he was doing everything from his head. Someone even mentioned that he once he could give you like 200,000 naira, from your contributions, and he knew exactly when you contribute and when you're going to give without recording it. So he was a very smart man. So because of that antecedent, he had built trust over time, and people could, trust him with their money. They know that this man is a living calculator, and the trade has been impeccable. So I think people now built up on that idea over the years and continued in the same trend to do things manually without really thinking about all these loopholes that you're talking about. So if you want to remain Ajo, local Ajo, then you have to do it. If you are not everybody can be Babala or Shomolu. So if you know that you cannot be Babala or Shomolu, then you would start talking about these loopholes that you are talking about.
I like your view of it in how it's kind of like a thing about the person had a good reputation and built up trust over time. But yeah, like you said, the likelihood of that happening in the present day, of somebody, being that kind of person who is irreproachable and you trust them to always be like equitable and fair, I don't know how realistic it is anymore. But I guess that there are some people who still choose to do the old methods of things. Why do you think or why do you guys think that despite, all these new advancements, despite banking, despite many other ways of saving and keeping money, some people still choose to use this method? I know part of it is that in Nigeria, a lot of people don't even have bank accounts.
I think
I think
another thing is, I feel like in Nigeria, right, we don't have ease of access, like compared to the rest of the world, right? We don't have ease of access to capital. So a lot of Nigerians cannot have credit cards. And a lot of Nigerians, like, we just don't have those things in the country, right? So Ajo and whatnot, well, the modern type of Ajo is a sort of ways for people to get access to capital that they typically would not have access to, and then they use this capital to maybe pay for their children's tuition or healthcare or like whatever economic or social like reason they need money for. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of Nigerians still do Ajo. And then of course for savings, like Stephen was explaining, people just like pull money together just to save. Other people, maybe they see it as some sort of investment. Those are the reasons I can think of for now. Does anyone have anything else?
for me, I also think it's the same reason why people would rather use POS than go to an ATM machine or enter a bank. It's because of the ease of access to banks. Many people believe that it just takes time going to the bank. When Baba Alajo would literally ride his bicycle to my house and collect the money and keep it, and at the end of the month, I'll get my money back, or at the end of a period, I'll get my money back. So for those that still stick to this Ajo, if you interrogate them, you discover that some of them have been doing it for years. Someone can tell you, I've been doing a job with this Baba for 20, 30 years, and I've always gotten my money back. So, I mean, if you tell that one to go to the bank, they won't go to the bank. So that's the kind. Some people also think that banks are scams, that the charges and all that you get from the bank, and not everybody can keep their money in a fixed account. Many people keep their money in savings accounts. You don't have so much, and then at the end of the month, you can receive like 4, 5 alerts. They'll tell you SMS charge, ATM card, this thing charge, and that one charge. And then when you need money quickly, you can't easily go to the bank. And for the old Baala Joshomolu, he even used to give loans without collateral. So he used to give loans to people that need it without collateral. You cannot do that at the bank. So it's just for the ease of access and how fast it is to get those monies when you need them.
Yeah, and also I think another factor, very important one, is the convenience. Now we know we are in the age of computers, technologies, and all that, but there are still people in the market that have been marketing, buying and selling for 20, 30 years, and they feel like it's easy, very convenient for them to converse with a biologer that can speak their language, that can give them money when they need it. Even when you want to open a bank account now, you need to fill so many information. I mean, NIN alone is going to put you in some very, very rough road. So it's very easy for these people to, converse, manage, and like Stephen said earlier, the trust has already been built. And I don't know if you guys have heard before, but like I told, okay, I haven't mentioned, my mom was actually into this whole agile thing. Then I worked fine for her. Then a man just digressing a bit. The man was kind of known, and also people kind of knew that he had the diabolical powers. So it's not like it could be robbed and all that. I don't know if you guys have heard that before. Like these guys having powers or protecting themselves with charms and all that.
I
Just
think,
had to drop that there.
yeah, I totally understand why they would trust some guy who allegedly cannot be robbed more than like any institution that can take your money. But I think that that's very interesting. I mean, it would be, if I was an Alajo, I would probably want to build such a legend around myself too, because then people would trust me like implicitly. So let's look at like modern Ajo now, because do you guys know that there are some like Nigerian microfinance banks or whatever? A lot of them even call themselves Ajo. There's one called Ajo Money. It's an app. There's another one called Ajo Bank. Is this something you guys have heard about?
I think it's just the modernization of the whole Ajo system. Like I mentioned earlier, the Alajo Shomolu system was the precursor to this microfinance banking system. So I think they just borrowed a bit from the traditional this. And then their aim would have been to tighten those loopholes that we have talked about, the possibility of getting robbed and people running away with your money and all that. So what if we have an office, we have an entire banking system, we have security and all that? Probably people will be able to do what they do normally, but in a more secured manner. So I think it's just the modernization of something that existed before.
And to add to what Steven said, now I think that's what discussing this whole Ajo mix. Now, these Ajo guys are more of loan guys than savings. They are more interested in how much they can get back from you. So that's why it's so. If you go on Play Store now, you just type in Ajo, or you type in Thrift Collections, you just begin to see so many loans. So Ajo naturally, traditionally, has always been more of the Alajo is helping you save your money for your business. It's not going to it only takes that 1 day fee, which is not bad, but you get back your money, for the 29 days. But now these adjust systems are more of the interest they can get back. They would give you loan at first, you'd be like, ooh, this is money, but the price you'd have to pay would be more. So
sorry, just as a digression, a quick digression, when you talked about the loan apps, have you received a call from any of them before? They'll tell you that we are going to publish your friend so and so has borrowed money from us, and we are going to send the message to all your family members.
I am telling you,
those guys can be very annoying.
There was one actually trending that the lady was lamenting bitterly on social media. I think it was on Instagram. They kind of posted her picture and they said she was a kidnapper. She has kidnapped someone before. And people had mixed reactions like, well, she should have paid the money somewhere. But that's too deep, that's too grave.
They say she borrowed like 10,000 naira.
I am telling you. Well, so, yeah.
They're very predatory, a lot of these loan apps, and people usually don't realize like the potential consequences of borrowing. And even they don't often tell you, Seth. And then they usually let people even borrow more than they can handle. But there are some like savings apps that I know that people can use. One that I have personally used as with a Nigerian bank account is PiggyVest. So this is it's not a loan app. It's just savings. So they take a certain amount. You can set it up so they take a certain amount out of your bank account every month. It's your money and they keep it for you and they pay interest on it for you. And then they pay it out to you. Like when you need it, you can withdraw. If you withdraw early, you get a penalty. But if you withdraw, and that's just to encourage you to keep it, save it, and just, keep earning it on it. So I think it's really pretty cool. And that's a really good tool. I actually would like them to expand and go to other countries as well. They should come to, because saving in Naira now is just throwing money down the drain, to be honest with you guys. But yeah, they should start taking other currencies. They should go to other countries too, because that's really good. And a lot of countries don't actually have things like that. I think it's really interesting that Nigeria is one of the first places to have that kind of savings app that's just for savings.
Yeah, Piggyverse is actually the closest to Ajo for me. It's actually the closest to Ajo because you only save, and the whole idea of taking your money before the time, getting a penalty is kind of, cool,
Yeah.
forcing you to save the money
The
for,
only difference is you're not saving with other people, you're just saving by yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Um, just to add on to this conversation, I feel like we've gone a little bit beyond Ajo at this point. We're talking about like banking systems and savings, but I just want us to like, I feel like, well, the way I look at Ajo and I think about it is that is this communal sort of thing where like a bunch of people are just like pulling money together to use the money for like survival or like to do something important in their lives. So I mean, piggy vest, I get it, but I don't think that's like the whole concept of Ajo. With that one, a person is just saving, you're just saving money, right? But I feel like with Ajo, it's like you're being accountable to someone. There's so many of you like in that like Ajo group. I mean, again, you're also within like your social economic status group. You're saving or you're pulling money with people that you know that okay, this person can afford to save this amount of money and I know that they'll stick to it for the entire year or like however long the rotation goes. So anyway, that's just I just think Ajo is not, it's a simple yet somewhat complex indigenous financial system. That's how I think about it.
I agree with you that PVS is not really Ajo. And like the difference is that, Ajo is a communal thing where you kind of have to have an element of trust in people. But I still think it's relevant to the conversation because we're talking about savings and now we're talking about modern ways that people can save in the same society. It's just that the society has evolved and there's technology involved now. So there are ways that you can do it and get around the loopholes that we talked about where somebody will japa with your money. At least you know that nobody will japa with your money if you are saving it by yourself. But it's just anecdotal.
Before we forget, you guys have not answered my question yet. So have you guys participated in any Ajo? Let me ask
No,
each person. Tessie, yes or no?
No. It's a no
Steven,
for
yes or
me.
no?
no.
Why don't
Kola,
I
you
believe?
go.
I don't know why I don't believe.
I have. Yes, I have.
Good. Me too, I have. Kola. That you see why the only true Nigerians here. I
I'm going
have,
to
and it
start.
was
I'm going to start one. Oh. Should I start one here? You
Start.
people will be
Please
Steven,
doing
start
I'm
it.
an
not joining
Oriire
your
Keep it
job.
Ajo.
for
I
you.
am not joining
I'll
your
keep
job
it.
group.
I'll keep
We
it
can
for
start one
you.
for Oriire, guys.
But yeah,
I'll use it in
anyway.
December for Dirty December.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Kola, why did you join? I'm just curious. Like, why did you join the one Ajo? Or if you're more than
Why
one?
did I join? Why did I join? Okay, then I think I joined when I moved here to Lagos. I used to stay in Abuja with my parents. So I joined when I moved here and I was still looking for a job ish and I needed a place ish. So I kind of just thought, okay, I need to save, but I also need to be sure that this savings is kind of not in my hands. Things can come up. Some days I'll feel like, oh, I need to eat shawarma today. I'll go to the cinema, but saving with someone. It's not like I knew these people completely, but I knew the person in charge, and the rest, the others were also kind of people I knew, and they were all working. So I was like, okay, this will work fine. It was 20,000 naira, so it was flexible. So yeah, I needed it for my house rent, so I thought it was a good idea.
Oh, that's so cool. Mine was
Yeah.
just my cousins. It's like one of those things that you don't even think about. I just like one of them just told me, oh, they're doing this Ajo. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't even remember what I used the money for. But anyway, that was just what I wanted to. That Ajo is something I think is interesting. I think we can modernize it in a way that works for everybody, but we'll see about that. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it. Does anyone have anything else to add?
For our listeners who have missed Emisi, he's here for this episode, but he came too late to join us to talk about Ajo. So you can just say hi, Missy, just in case anyone missed you.
Hi guys. Good to be here again. I totally apologize that I could not join in time. I was going to join by 5. I was following the conversation. I saw that I was 3, and then I saw that I was moved to 5, but I had some things to do, so I could not join. I totally apologize. I hope everyone is doing great, by the way.
Yeah. Emisi, have you ever like been a part of any Ajo group?
Yes, I have.
Good. You see,
You
Amy is
never
also a
even
great
covered-
Nigerian.
I have. Yeah, that was back in 2017, and where I was working at the time, my office at the time made it compulsory. Like I had a small team of 4 people, and the team leader at the time made it compulsory for us to. Yeah, he made
That
it
one's
compulsory.
beyond
That
our job.
Is that ethical? How can they say you must contribute money?
No, but
Hey,
it was off the record though. It was just the person who wanted the best for the people that was working on his team, and he was always like, "You guys, don't worry. You're going to thank me later with this Ajo. This Ajo is going to help you." So it wasn't like compulsory. You could back out if you wanted to, but it just made us see reasons why you would need it. So
Did
yeah,
you
I did. What?
did you thank him at the end?
Yeah, I did actually, because when I was quitting, I was going to go back to school at the time. So that was the money I used to pay for my rent when I go back to school, and it was really amazing. And I thanked him like eventually. And funny thing was, I was not even thinking about getting the money that day because my work at the time was in Lagos and I was in Ibadan at the time. And the man just called me that I sent someone, that there's someone in Ibadan right now that wants to give me my Ajo money. And I had to meet up with the person, and the person gave me in cash. And it felt so good holding like 100 and something thousand that I've worked for in the past in my very hands. And yeah, so it was really good. And I think Ajo is a proper stuff if managed properly. So yeah.
I agree.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
So yeah, anyway, you guys, if you'd like, conduct a little bit more research and join an Ajo group today.
Or start
And
one.
yeah, or start one. Yeah, that's always a good idea. But make sure you're a trustworthy person. If you know that you're horrible with money, do not start one. Don't collect people's money unnecessarily.
Also, don't
And
steal people's money and run away to another place.
true.
In
Very
this
true.
era of Japa, people have to be
Who do
careful
it
because
to? People are
they'll
doing
take your
it.
money and
Proof of
travel
funds.
with it.
But if you're listening to this and you do that, just know you're a thief because you're dead as a thief. Why are you doing that? Oh my goodness. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, stay notified. Yeah, and tell your friends, family, community, co-workers, anybody.
About Oriire. Also about
Yeah.
Ajo.
Yeah. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. On Twitter, we're Oriire_Africa, and Oriire is spelled ORIIRE_Africa. On Instagram, same handle. Our website is oriire.com. So Oriire once again is spelled ORIIRE. Anyway, au revoir, everybody.
Hi everyone. Thanks for listening.